Welcome to the Society for International Development US 2023 Innovation Competition Showcase Panel. Thank you all for joining us today. My name is Roger Ford. I'm the Managing Director and Global Lead for Accenture Development Partnerships, and I'm also a member of the SID Board of Directors. Just for background on myself, I run a group called Accenture Development Partnerships, which is part of Accenture's global practice that delivers our capabilities and experience to address complex social, economic, and environmental issues around the world. We deliver about 250 projects a year working with leading international NGOs, foundations, bilateral, multilateral donors, and corporations to accelerate innovation within the organizations that we work with, deliver impactful programming, and thus we are a natural sponsor for this year's innovation competition. Backed by popular demand this year, we've opened up the competition beyond our traditional institutional members to encourage anyone in the international development community to pitch their innovative ideas, early stage projects, and actionable solutions that will empower locally led actors to transform development. We had dozens of entries this year from across the globe. A group of 5 judges consisting of SID-US board members and other industry experts narrowed the entries down to the 5 finalists we have here today. And here's a quick rundown. First of all, we have BAO Systems Analytics Platform. We have BeeProtect by Chemonics International. Drone Technology for Malaria Vector Control in Madagascar by Apt Associates. A set of tools for documenting war damages in agriculture by Chemonics. And Shift by Save the Children. So we're very excited to narrow the field down to those 5 exciting projects. The 5 finalists today will get 3 minutes each to present their solution, followed by a moderated conversation. Afterwards, we'll actually open the floor up to an audience Q&A, so we encourage you all listening to start submitting your questions at any time throughout the panel. And as a friendly reminder, in addition to the round 2 judging that is taking place to select the winner of this year's innovation competition, the audience, over, I think, close to 2,000 people will have the option to vote for a popular winner of the show. So please pay attention to the innovators and remember to vote on the conference platform. So let's start. Our first finalist for today is Scott Jackson, who is the Analytics Services Practice Leader from BAO Systems. He's going to present on what they call the BAO Systems Analytics Platform, which provides a development partners better quantifying and articulating social impact and delivering last mile analytics. So Scott, the floor is yours.
Awesome, thank you, Roger. Can you guys see my screen okay? Okay, great. So as the practice leader for BAO Systems in analytics, I have had the opportunity to work with NGOs, nonprofits, foundations across the globe of all different sizes. And what has struck me through almost every one of these experiences is that no matter how large a social impact leader or enterprise might be, the actual logistics of using whatever data they may be collecting to better improve their decision-making and ultimately to accelerate and articulate their social impact is something that almost everybody struggles with. This isn't just for no reason at all. I think that the challenges that we all face in taking our analytics to that last mile, to turn those analytics, those data, the information being provided from the field, from our partners, into insights we can act on to improve our impact, they are not insignificant. Beyond just cost or know-how, I think one that we run into a lot is understanding how to draw a direct line between our strategies and the impact that we're trying to create, and how data can serve as a function for all of those. It's not just about numbers, these challenges with data. It's not just about funding. It's not just about leadership buy-in. Ultimately, these are issues about reorienting why and how we think about data to see them as vehicles for helping us to further the issues of dignity and accountability in our field. And as we have worked with our partners, we have tried to help them listen to those that they serve, rapidly iterate on their successes, and look for ways to be, do, and act better, all of which are fundamental functions of data. So as sort of a byproduct of our frustrations and struggles, but also, as an outreach of our empathy for our partners who we've worked with, who struggle with this, we have pioneered a new platform that we call the analytics platform as what we hope will become an operating system for social impact for all of our partners that we work with and many others in the social impact space. And this platform helps our partners to take their data from various sources, whether that's their HR data, their finance data, their impact data, pull it into one place, and then use that data to integrate analytics through whatever visualization platform they choose, and to drive impact faster, to collaborate more broadly, to learn in a continuous fashion, and to adapt to whatever situation that they're dealing with on the ground. I won't go through all of this because of time, but this platform taps into some of the leading technologies in cloud analytics and data science to help our partners to use their data more quickly, more intentionally, and ultimately to get data back into the hands of the people that are most equipped to make decisions, which often are not the people in the Northern Hemisphere. Over the last just couple of years, what we have pioneered and begun to scale the impact of the analytics platform, we've been able to form partnerships across all industries and lots of different issue areas. And we've been able to watch as those that have really begun to leverage this technology or technologies like it that we've helped folks to implement have begun to take their data from just something that they store and turn it into an asset for social impact. And next steps for us, we as a company, BAO Systems, have more than 100 partners with experience in over 85 countries. So we view these as assets we can use to help to reach more folks, not only our clients that we already have, our partners right now, but others that we are working with who can benefit from greater access to data, greater democratization of their data, and ultimately to use this data to represent the needs of those on the ground in the fields and in the issue areas that we work in. So I and all of BAO are honored to be here and appreciate the opportunity to present and talk a little bit about the analytics platform today.
Great. Thank you, Scott. I mean, that's an amazing sounding system, and I can't wait to see more. And it's great to really have that data access and do it for the good of the world. So thanks for that. With that, I'd like to turn to Benjamin Torek, who is the Chief of Party for the USAID Moldova Rural Competitiveness and Resilience Activity. He's going to be sharing a very unique project with us called BeeProtect, which is a digital tool which has been implemented by Chemonics. It has over 1,000 active users, enables real-time information exchange to warn beekeepers and protect bees from pesticide poisoning. So Benjamin, over to you to hear more. Ben, could you check your mute? Ben, could you please check your mute? Well, let's come back to Ben. I'm going to skip over Ben. We'll come back to you, Ben. You are muted. And I'm going to move on to our third finalist, which is drone technology for malaria vector control in Madagascar. And we're going to have Carrie Ann Gaia who's the technical project lead at Apt Associates. She'll be sharing how they protected over 80,000 people from malaria by implementing a successful evidence-based intervention using innovative drone technology as part of the President's Malaria Initiative. Carrie Ann, can you take over?
Thank you. Today, I'll be presenting an operational research study by the PMI Vet-Filling Project in collaboration with the National Malaria Control Program of Madagascar. In 2021, there was an estimated 247 million cases and 619,000 deaths by malaria, which really reinforced the mission that the ACT Associates-led PMI Vector-Link project must remain innovative, adaptable, and deliver work that serves the people who are most affected. And that's exactly what we did here. Research shows that the aquatic conditions of irrigated and rain-fed rice fields, which have expanded significantly in sub-Saharan Africa in the last 20 years, are capable of generating large numbers of malaria vectors. And therefore, to address two major development goals in Africa, that is increasing food security and eliminating malaria, we conducted an operational study in Madagascar, a country with one of the highest per capita consumption of rice worldwide, using drone technology for malaria vector control. Now, what does this all mean? I know it will sound a bit technical, but the project collaborated extensively with a locally based drone company and in consultation with a larvicide manufacturer to adapt the DJI Adras T30 drone with the ability to spray a biolarvicide bi-weekly at an application rate of 300 grams per hectare, flow rate of 1.5 liters per minute, using a 3% larvicide suspension in these rice fields. Now, these 6 carrier drones were programmed to fly at 3 meters altitude at a speed of 15 kilometers per hour and deliver a 5 to 7 meter swath to ensure full coverage of the target area. In fact, data from each flight was synced to an ODK platform, which really allowed us to monitor the larvicide that we use, the distance that was sprayed, GPS coordinates, as well as other operational parameters for quality assurance. This innovation yielded great results. From our entomological monitoring activities, which were conducted before, during, and after larvicide spraying, an average of 95 to 97% mosquito larval reduction was seen across all 17 Fokantanis or villages, which suggests that larval source management has the potential to be used as a complementary vector control tool to reduce mosquito densities in remote farming communities. In fact, from focus group discussions and interviews in all communities that received the larvicidin, 100% of participants expressed positive perceptions related to the use of drones, including lack of harm to fish, humans, and crop, reduction in mosquito population, and limited disruption to their time in the rice fields. Healthcare workers also reported a reduction in the number of positive malaria cases. And so we see this activity as a great success, which contributed to protecting 81,237 persons from malaria. So that's it in a brief synopsis, the problem, the solution, and future use. Thank you.
Amazing. Thanks, Carrie Ann. That was a great overview and a very impactful project. So thank you for presenting that. I'm going to go back to Benjamin again at USAID Moldova Rural Competitiveness and Resilience Activity to talk about BeeProtect. So over to you, Benjamin.
Thank you so much, and hopefully second time lucky.
Yep.
Very important topic that I wanted to talk to you about today, and this is about honeybees, which, as we know, not only produce honey, but also play a fundamental role in the reproduction of flowering plants, including many of the crops that we rely on food. However, these remarkable creatures are facing numerous challenges that endanger their very existence. Habitat loss, climate change, but also pesticide use are among the main threats that pollinators, including honeybees, confront. The use of pesticides makes bees vulnerable to poisoning and death, and Moldova is not an exception. Bee poisoning can occur when pesticides are applied to blooming plants without the beekeeper's knowledge. And up to 100% of the bee colony can be killed when exposed to certain pesticides. Protecting bees from the threat of pesticides relies on effective communication between farmers and beekeepers. And this is a problem that we've had in Moldova. In the past, the previous system relied on farmers informing beekeepers by contacting the mayor's office about the plant spraying, and this had to be done 7 days in advance. And beekeepers were expected to pass by the information board placed by the mayor's office to learn about when the spraying will take place. Obviously, this system did not work. On the USAID-funded and Chemonics Implementer project, we engaged with a wide range of stakeholders in discussions on protecting bees for honey production and agriculture. We explored best international practices in bee protection, including effective IT solutions to improve communication between farmers and beekeepers. And this is where we identified BeeProtect as a local solution to a global priority. What is BeeProtect? It's a digital tool that enables real-time information exchange between farmers and beekeepers. It is user-friendly and accessible. You can access it from a smartphone. It enables direct communication between farmers and beekeepers within a 7-kilometer radius. And it provides instant notification of plant spraying and location of apiaries. What was the process of establishing BeeProtect? What we did, we brought together the stakeholders to agree on the issues and propose solutions. We included a wide range of stakeholders from the government, from agricultural associations, beekeeping associations, even ICT association in discussions on the issues and the tools that we can come up with to address this issue. We identified a local software development talent to create a user-friendly solution that works in Moldova. We piloted the IT solution and made necessary adjustments to make it user-friendly throughout Moldova. We helped also amend local regulations to mandate the use of an electronic warning systems that works 48 hours prior to spraying, rather than the old system, which required warning 7 days in advance, which did not work. We are now supporting a very broad communication campaign to increase the adoption of the tool across Moldova and as fast as possible. On the World Bee Day, which was on May the 20th, we signed a memorandum of understanding with key stakeholders affirming our dedication to collaborate on the use of BeeProtect. In March this year, we had only 412 users, but already we have more than 1,300 users across Moldova, and we want to expand this to 10,000 users by the end of the year. So what was the outcome of the use of BeeProtect? BeeProtect saves time. Communication between farmers and beekeepers is basically instant. You do not have to drive to a mayor's office to find out when spraying takes place. You learn immediately of farmers' plans when spraying will take place. It saves money, because beekeepers are avoiding financial losses that are related to bee death. It also makes money because farmers can increase their earnings as agriculture crops pollinated by bees can have 40% or higher agricultural yields. Basically, a BeeProtect is a solution that benefits everyone, the farmers, the beekeepers, and the bees. Thank you for listening.
Great, thank you, Benjamin. It was amazing what you guys are doing there with BeeProtect. So we're going to move forward now to Anna Bedun, who is a land law advisor with USAID Agri activity, which is implemented by Chemonics, and Dmytro Kokin, who is the deputy chairman of the Ukrainian Agrarian Council. The pair was going to share how we partnered with the Ukrainian Agrarian Council to develop a set of tools for documenting war damages in agriculture so that farmers could receive compensation later. I want to thank you and your entire team for all you're doing in that challenging situation in Ukraine. So over to you, Anna and Dmytro.
Thank you, Roger. Dear Roger, dear participants, we are from Ukraine and we greet you from Kyiv. My name is Anna and I represent the USAID Agro activity, which is implemented in Ukraine by Chemonics International.
My name is Dmitry. I am a deputy chair of a public union, Ukrainian Agrarian Council, that unite 1,100 of agriculture producers who together cultivate more than 6 million acres of agricultural land.
We are glad to have an opportunity to present here our innovation case regarding documentation of farmers' losses inflicted daily by Russia's aggression against Ukraine. For over a year, a full-scale, unprovoked war has been going in our country. Each day, the war brings suffering, losses, and damages. Russia is destroying lands, fields, crop, livestock, and production, threatening the food security in our country as well as in other countries that used to consume Ukrainian wheat, sunflower oil, corn, and other products.
Here you see Mykola. He is our local farmer. Russia airplanes bombed out his farm, killing 200 cows, 150 pigs, completely destroying his farm and his property. Unfortunately, there are hundreds of similar stories. Each day, the number of destroyed farms only grows. And these crimes should be recorded and evidence should be collected to bring an aggressor to justice and enable farmers to get compensation for their losses. However, evidence that exists today may disappear tomorrow. Therefore, everything should be done on time. But at the same time, farmers are not lawyers. They have no idea how to do this. Police at the same time also have no access to damaged objects in the occupied areas or at the combat line.
The total damage inflicted on the Ukrainian agriculture sector is now estimated at $40 billion. 300 communities are located in the combat area. Every day, 40,000 farmers may lose their property.
So what we offer to farmers? First, we develop a methodology for documenting damaged property and war loss. It includes procedures and document templates that farmers can easily fill out by themselves. We also equip farmers with video instruction to advise them on how to make photo, video recordings properly and capture geolocation using simply smartphones that every one of them have. Also, we developed this methodology for Ukraine, but it can be applied to every country where a military conflict happened. The second one, we launched an online platform that is being interactive damage map, where farmers can add, visualize, analyze their data, and all the interested authorities also can view this data. This interactive map was created in late 2022, and just in a few months, over 500 damaged objects from almost 50 communities has been registered there. And last but not least, we also launched a hotline and developed a video guide for farmers how to record their damages. So right now, our local farmers have a unified solution for documenting war crimes, and they know what to do, when to do, and where to save all that information.
While international law and the international security system are developing solutions for compensation mechanism, our data are ready to be delivered as evidence to international institutions to help the farmers get compensation from the frozen Russian funds. In our 21st century, about 40 military conflicts have taken place in the world. Unfortunately, many people might need the tools that we have developed, but we hope the world can stop wars forever. To achieve this, aggressor must know that guilty action will always be punished and justice will be restored. By implementing such innovative tools, we combat war and we restore peace.
And that is why our next step is to continue advocacy for the compensation of damages. The crucial thing that collected evidence by our platform and by other platforms will be used as a tool by international institutions and will allow to restore justice and enable such farmers as Mykola Tereshchenko, whom you've seen today, to receive compensation and support. Thank you, colleagues, for your attention. We are happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you.
Thank you both. That was amazing work. So important. We don't hear about this. And I think you're bringing a very important, very critical issue to bear here. So thank you for presenting that. We'll have questions in a moment, but last but not least, I'd like to actually joining from Australia, so it's 4 a.m. right now, is Andy Nilsson, the creator and director of Shift at Save the Children. Shift is an innovative campaign accelerator model, which has now been expanded to 20 countries. Provides locally led young change makers with the tools, skills, network, and funding needed to create impact. Andy, over to you. The floor is yours.
Thanks so much, and hi everyone. Hope everyone's doing well over the world, and thanks for the opportunity to introduce you to Shift and talk about what we've done so far, but also what we want to do and hope to do in the future. So I really wanted to start off today by talking about the end users of our product and introducing them to you. So this is a group of young people from Malawi who in 6 months of campaigning were able to get 115 out of 116 children back into school. And this was something that the authorities themselves told me when I was recently there they tried to do for a couple of years and weren't able to achieve. And this group achieved that in just 6 months. This is a group in Vietnam, a group of adolescents who decided that they really wanted to start a community conversation around puberty, because nobody in their community talked about something which happens naturally and is an amazing part of our personal development. So they broke taboos by starting conversations in their community. This is a group of young people from Bolivia who started to put the rates of HIV and of teenage pregnancy in people of their same age back on the map in Bolivia, and started to have conversations around what causes such high rates of HIV and teenage pregnancy. And this is a group from Nepal who single-handedly delivered environmental education to 25 schools and universities across their regions. And finally, where it all began, in Myanmar, this giant white teddy bear was able to educate a whole city about the rising air pollution problems. And they did such an effective job that the government of Myanmar at the time started to release data around air pollution to the public for the first time. And here's the teddy bear popping up now in Nepal, because one youth group in Nepal was inspired by what was done in Myanmar. So that's kind of what Shift looks like now. That's what we've developed in terms of our campaign accelerator methodology, which is an investment in human beings to be able to solve the problems and shifting power to young people. What we saw as the problem was that, you know, institutions, we often put ourselves at the center of the problem when it's really communities who are the most impactful to solve those problems. And institutions aren't always the best at unlocking that potential that's there. And we often want to speak on behalf of citizens rather than providing the structures where citizens can speak for themselves. And then secondly, our opportunity was youth, young people. Why? Because young people still care about the world. They're still optimistic. They're already mobilizing themselves and trying to change things in their community. They're not about the I, they're still talking about the we. They have time because volunteerism is so important when it comes to organizing change. And they live in the communities and understand why things are the way that they are. So we decided to shift power to young people as much as possible. And Shift is all about taking Save the Children, our 100-year organization, and thinking differently about how we can actually shift power to young people, because we believe that young people have the potential, unrivaled potential, to be able to change things in their community. The methodology, I haven't got time to go into, but essentially it's a model which is based on design thinking and giving young people access to the kind of things they need, including resources to be able to implement their campaigns through a model which is very much experiential. Since we started in Myanmar, we've now in 2 or 3 years expanded to now over 20 countries in a completely global way. And all of these countries have youth that are working on different problems. And those problems are essentially problems that young people bring to us. But there is still a problem. And this is really what I want to do next with Shift. And that's to say that, you know, design tools are useful, but they have a limited reach. So how can technology allow us to bring the tools to young people more often? Opportunity pipelines are still controlled by donors and by organizations. And there's not enough citizen-led propositional or access pathways where young people or citizens can bring their ideas to us and have access to our big organizations. When we provide money to these often informal groups, we often push our bureaucracy onto them as well. And one group of activists said to us recently, you know, you wanted to work with us because we're activists, but now you've turned us into you, and I no longer have time to be an activist. So that's a problem that we have to solve. We need to make it easier for young people to access these kinds of funding. So just to finish off, our brighter future in terms of Shift, we want to use technology so that young people can access these kind of design tools, and that they can be proactive and bring their pitches to us, that those pitches can be funded directly and they can be linked to just the small amounts of funding that they need to be able to bring their campaigns to reality, that the technology manages risk and all these things which tie up our bureaucracy, and that young people will receive support from us as organizations rather than our paperwork. So finally, what if technology opened Shift up to any young person who has access to the internet? What if Coursera and Kickstarter and Google Forms had a baby that was raised by TikTok and Snapchat to become a world-shifting superhero. Thanks very much, and congratulations to all the other finalists.
Yeah, that's an amazing story, Andy, and Shift sounds like a really impactful campaign. So can't wait to learn more. I think many of you are probably already might be about ready to select one of these folks. They should all deserve an amazing round of applause virtually here, but we will continue with some questions to get even deeper to understand these innovations further. And what I'd like to start with is a question I'm going to pose to each of you. And that question is, a lot of times with innovations and technology, we always think we have the right idea, out of the gate. We think that, oh yes, this innovation is going to change the world. But sometimes when you actually get to building that innovation or actually introducing it to users, it could often be rejected, or it decides that it was completely different from what you intended it to be. So I guess to each of you, and I'll start maybe with you, Andy, just because you finished up, is, what do you think the greatest challenge or barrier you faced when you first introduced the solution that you talked about with Shift to the users? And, what did you have to adapt, if anything? If you could answer that in about 1 minute, that would be great.
Yeah, so we developed Shift in Myanmar by having conversations with activists across that country. So we ran focus group discussions, workshops. We tried to identify what are the core things that those activists need from an organization like us. And they came up with 4 things, which became the pillars that we built Shift around: skills, tools, resources, networks. As we continue to scale and take that model to the rest of the world, we've deliberately built an imperfect model. We don't want to have 100% model that we say, implement it this way. We build it around localization. So we sort of say 60% of the model is built and the rest of the 40% needs to be localized and adapted to the local context. So that's important. And it means that our tools are constantly tested. And I would just say the final thing is, like, we work with young people. And so I've deliberately employed young people on the Shift Global team and given them the job of having constant conversations with the activists that we work with to try and get a feedback mechanism happening. And I think that if we always have the attitude that we're not trying to build a perfect model, we're trying to build a model that constantly evolves, then I think that's the right attitude to have to any innovation.
Great. Yeah, thanks, Andy. And maybe I'll turn to Carrie Ann next. Carrie Ann, could you tell us from the Malaria project, what was your greatest challenge or barrier, and how did you deal with it?
Thank you. So from research, we knew that irrigated and rain-fed rice fields really generate a large number of malaria-carrying mosquitoes, as I mentioned earlier. And therefore, any intervention that involved rice fields must include communities who resided in close proximity to the rice fields. So in many cases, that's the rice farmers. And so we also knew that these communities earmarked for this activity had a high malaria case load. And so we did a lot of user research before we really started this intervention, because we needed to understand their needs, their behaviors, their attitude to inform the design and development of a better control intervention. And so we had lots of consultation meetings with government agencies, with district level authorities, and where it matters most, which is the community. But despite our efforts, we still had some minor challenges in relation to community acceptance, which we were able to overcome. In a brief synopsis, the farmers were concerned that we were going to trample their rice fields while spraying. We assured them that the drones would be flying over the rice, with landing bases located outside of the field. They were also concerned that the spray timing would coincide with their farming activities, which is their livelihoods. And so we had to coordinate spray times with them, which everyone respected. And I guess our testament to our success, and I had mentioned this earlier, is that the spray group discussions and interviews in all communities that received the larvicidin really showed that 100% of participants expressed positive perceptions related to the use of drones. And so while we did have small hurdles in the start, I think because we did adequate user research and adequate sensitization, we were able to overcome them. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Carrie Ann. And I will turn to Benjamin next. Also here, any barriers and challenges on BeeProtect and what you did to deal with
Yes,
them.
well, I think one of the biggest challenges for us was to identify and agree on the solution that we want to take in Moldova. And here there was a lot of debate whether to make it a voluntary system where people use an electronic system on a voluntary basis, or whether we actually make it mandatory by making legislative amendments. The stakeholders we work with, including, of course, representatives of the sector associations and the government, decided to make it a mandatory system. So that meant working with everyone to make the legislative amendments, which took a lot of time. But subsequently, we have to implement this. So this also entailed working a lot with the local government agency to integrate it within the government electronic system, information system according to the rules and processes that the government of Moldova has. So that also took a lot of time. And finally, and I think the biggest thing is, we have to make sure that we have widespread adoption of this tool. Since it is mandatory, this helps us a lot. But nonetheless, it takes time to train inspectors in the field, to train farmers, to train beekeepers on how to use this BeeProtect tool so that it's actually widespread and it's effective and actually achieves the aims that it was intended to achieve when we developed it.
Awesome. Thanks for that. And let me move to Scott next from BAO Systems on the analytics. Scott, same question.
Yeah, there are a lot of challenges that we have and are facing. I'll focus on two though. The users of the analytics platform most directly are organizations themselves, development actors. And the two that we have struggled with the most, mostly with them, are getting leadership buy-in and funding. Just as an example, I won't name the organization, but we've worked with an organization that they get their development funding, their funding from grants and grantors, largely on a project by project basis. And so they have for lots of years struggled to find ways to pull money to work on central projects, like, for example, overhauling how they store and use their data. So, helping them work through the process to do that has been a struggle. I think other organizations oftentimes will say, well, we're collecting data about headcounts. Why do we need to do anything better? What we've got, the board likes, our grantees the folks giving us money don't seem to mind. And helping them rethink why they're collecting data in the first place and what more they could be doing with their data to make social impact has been difficult. But all of these things sort of hinge on getting buy-in from leadership at whatever level that makes sense. So I'll say that just in terms of a solution, there isn't one solution for this. I think it takes a lot of discussions and a lot of sort of creative thinking. And also, I think the beauty of the analytics platform that I talked about earlier is that it is scalable to whatever size or sort of breadth you need it to be, whether that's a single project or lots of them. And so you can focus on making a pilot successful in one area of your organization or work and slowly grow that as you need to through a sort of change management process.
Great, thanks so much for that. And finally, I'm going to turn to Anna and Dimitra from the USAID agro activity, and maybe yours is the hardest to say what are the barriers, because they change every day with the conflict, I would assume, but tell us some of those.
I would answer that maybe I'm in better position than other presenters, because for me it's easy to answer for this question, because we unfortunately live in a country in a war, and the whole of our project is a big challenge. And maybe we didn't want to talk about the war today, but we have to face, we have to react to challenges that we face. And if on a technical side, I think maybe two big challenges. One of them was this autumn when we were developing our online platform. There was a period of blackouts in Kyiv, specifically where we live, where in working day you will have 8-10 hours without internet, electricity, and so forth. But it is not a big problem. The biggest challenge we face even right now, that we have to work with those people who pretty much lost everything. They are so much upset, and we need to convince them also that they need to do all those procedures to document those losses and to do it just when it happened. Because if now in future they will not have chance to receive compensations, but at the moment they don't want to do it. They're just upset. I lost everything. What compensation you're talking about? But we need to convince them that they should do it. Maybe that's the main.
Yeah. Thank you, Dmitry. So thanks to everyone for sharing their initial thoughts on that broad question. And in a moment, we're going to enter what I call the lightning round of Q&A with a specific question for each of you. And as a reminder, finally, in a few minutes, we're going to open it up for some audience Q&A. So if you'd like to ask a question to anyone on the panel, please put them in now, and we will get to them in a moment. So let's start with this lightning round. Scott, a very practical question. In addition to providing end-to-end impact analytics for your clients, has your team documented any correlation between adopting your analytics platform and your client winning more work because of this capability as part of their storytelling?
Yeah, I mean, the answer is yes, and also it depends. So I'm an economist by background. That's my favorite answer, maybe to a fault. And I think that the reason I would say that is that winning more work isn't our number one priority with the analytics platform, although it often is a byproduct of what happens because of the platform. So the answer is yes. I think that the ability to articulate your impact and to articulate it better, especially in a world of growing attention and sophistication around how we discuss impact in a world of ESG and impact investment and social entrepreneurship, I think honestly, there's no real other option than to improve how we discuss and measure our impact. Those that provide money for impact are becoming increasingly aware of all of the opportunity costs that come with what we say we're doing with that money to provide impact. I think that the reason why that's so important is because without good data, like data that is sensible and tied directly to understanding how we are impacting people's lives related to a specific challenge, is really difficult and oftentimes, frankly, irresponsible to say that we have made an impact when we honestly don't know, and the data can't tell us. So I would say that using a platform like the analytics platform to better understand your data and turn it into insights that you can act on, the primary impact is that it helps you reach people better in a way that is more responsible. But as a byproduct, yes, you can then articulate your impact much better, and our clients have been able to do that to those that provide money for social entrepreneurship and development.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And yeah, we're seeing the same thing, across all sectors and industries. So it's great to see you driving this in the development sector. So I'm going to turn back to Dmitry, you and Anna in the Ukraine. And basically, I'd like to say, in hopes of these farmers, pursuing justice through the international court system, are you guys taking any of these learnings through other avenues for the farmers to seek compensation, maybe through donors or corporate visibility? How can these farmers also get compensated, maybe more informally?
Yeah, you're completely right. While all the international procedures, court laws and so forth are being under development, we use this platform and all the information that we have basically as a mechanism to raise money for our country and for those farms that were destroyed, to restore them. And anyone can use it who have money, first of all, and willing to help enjoy this process. It's investment funds, donor organizations, NGOs, and so forth. By the way, we also work with few US organizations on that topic. They're also right now coming on a board to help to restore those farms.
Great to hear. Thanks for that. I'd like to turn to Benjamin next. And can you tell us a little bit more on the regulation in Moldova that now mandates the adoption? And does BeeProtect have exclusivity to the market in Moldova? and any other similar legislation around the world?
Thank you for the question. So we worked on amending two pieces of legislation. One was the apiculture law and the second was the contravention code. So the key change that we made was to make it a mandatory requirement to use an electronic system. We didn't say it has to be BeeProtect. So it's not exclusive to BeeProtect. One of the reasons for that was that at the time of working on the BeeProtect app or as a tool, we were also working on the legislative amendments, and you never know, maybe someone else will come up with a better IT solution. The second big change that we made to legislative aspect to piece was to have the warning system 48 hours prior to spraying rather than 7 days prior to spraying. Under the old system, farmers couldn't predict that in 7 days they will spray because the weather changes, or there's a disease outbreak or pest outbreak where they have to respond quicker. So that was another big change that we made. And then there were some additional smaller changes to both pieces of legislation related to penalties if people don't comply with the law and so forth.
Great, thanks for that. I'd next like to turn to Andy. And Andy, as you know, at Accenture, we work very closely with Save the Children globally on a lot of your different campaigns, and would love to know how Save the Children's partners in the business community can help propel the shift model to accelerate even more young people who are already driving positive change in their communities.
Yeah, thanks for the question. I mean, there are literally hundreds of thousands of change maker groups that are already out there now in their communities trying to do something, whether it's on climate change, whether it's on gender equality, any kind of issue you could imagine. Young people are meeting and they're organizing themselves to not just advocate for change, but actually become a vehicle for education, for debunking myths, for breaking taboos, all the things that campaigning has the power to do, which is essentially creating a landscape for change to happen. The thing is that, like, if you're one of those groups, there's next to no opportunity for you to actually come to us as a big institution like Save the Children or a big donor, or the governments and so on. And yet we face endless communications challenges, one of the biggest being, the climate challenge and the amount of education of the community at community level that we need to do. Yet young people provide this incredible vehicle for those communications to happen. So the issue for me is that we need to work on a technological solution. And I believe technology is the heart of this, that flips the script completely so that a young person can bring their agenda to us, they can be propositional to us, they can access digitized design tools, which will help our shift methodology go to anyone who has the internet. They can auto-generate pitch decks, they can present what they want to do to the donor community, to corporates, to individual givers, and they can try and get that basic seed funding and be activated in that way. So that's essentially where I think we need to go. And I'm really looking for people who want to work on that kind of disruptive idea, because I don't think our sector is going to shift power without it. And sort of the technology partners who believe in that same flipping the script kind of philosophy that I believe in and that Shift and Save the Children believe in. So that's what I'm looking to do, and I think that's what we need to do to be able to make it go as big as we possibly can.
Awesome, yeah, it's amazing, and thanks for that. And let me turn lastly to Carrie Ann, and with the Malaria program, and say, what's next? I mean, you guys are getting 95 to 97% larval reduction across your program, which is just incredible. And basically, is your team's goal to go deeper and implement the solutions across more villages in Madagascar, neighboring countries, or other continents? And where do you see the most potential for this technology doing the most good? Carrie Ann?
Thanks. This activity was indeed a success, and we really see it being used by commercial rice farms across the African region, or even globally, possibly in peak transmission seasons. The ability for it to be replicated or scaled will really depend on available resources. Of course, the use of drones may not be the most cost-efficient way to conduct larval source management due to the high operational costs of drones themselves. But what this activity showed us is that larval source management, and that's really the targeted management of mosquito breeding sites with the objective of reducing the immature aquatic stages of the mosquito, that can be a complementary vector control tool in addition to traditional tools such as indoor residual spraying or insecticide treated nets. But given that sustainability is at the core of our work, the project is exploring alternative LSM approaches, such as backpack spraying or handheld manual dispersion of larvicide granules in rice fields, which are significantly cheaper alternatives and which can be more easily replicated and scaled. But what aerial application really provides us, though, is that we're able to cover a large area in a shorter period of time, and it addresses one of the concerns of the farmers, which is that we will not be destroying their crops, which is their livelihood. The reality, though, is that any larval source management methodology will be dependent on available funding, resources in country, and client preference. Not forgetting, of course, other factors like vector binomics, the target sites that we're going to be doing this intervention to, and other entomological and epidemiological and climate factors. Thank you.
Great. Yeah, and they've warned me that we're just about out of time, so we're going to have to just close out and not take any more questions. I will tell you that we've had well over 100 people listening throughout this presentation, so just an amazing amount of folks, and of course we'll get many more on the recording. But you know, before I close out here, I just wanted to thank each of you once again, and everyone in the earlier stages of the competition who submitted an entry for the innovation competition, and especially all of these finalists for the work you do every day to empower locally led actors to transform development. This is what it's all about. I would also love to thank the SID-US team for organizing the conference and the round 1 and round 2 judging that's taking place at this time to select our final winners, which will be announced at the end of today. And speaking of those winners, the winner and the best of show winner of this year's innovation competition will be announced again at the closing plenary, 4 p.m. Eastern today. So remember to tune in for that programming, which also includes remarks by Ukraine's ambassador to the US. If you haven't yet, vote for the best of the show on the Tech Change platform before it closes. You can access the voting by clicking the link provided in the panel description. Again, thanks to all of these finalists and congratulations, and we'll see you all next year. Thank you.